write down things I say today that are important. And you're going to be sifting in your own mind, what is she saying that could possibly help me for later? There's not going to be a test on this material, but what you're going to find is that there are things I'm going to say today that are going to impact your future. And I want you to write down everything you want to keep, and it's going to be on that first piece of paper. If you understood what I said, please say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, excellent. Now the second piece of paper, someone raise your hand politely, and I'm going to point at you, and you tell me what I said about the second piece of paper. Polite person, raise your hand, please. What did I say?
Don't write on it.
Don't write on the second piece of paper. We're going to use that for something special coming up at the end of this session. So you'll write on the first paper, don't write on the second paper. If anyone needs a pen, they're all right here. A pen or a pencil, any color will be fine. Okay, I want to tell you a little bit about how I started on this journey toward writing the book, Launch How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. And by the way, nobody needs to buy a copy of this book. Anybody can get it for free at any library. And I donated 2 copies of this book to the school. So if you find that you or your parents need to access a copy of this book, you can ask Mr. Rodriguez where to find it. Now my background is, I was raised in a tiny, tiny little town in northern Minnesota, so far north in Minnesota that you could canoe into Canada if you put your mind to it. And it is really cold and very snowy there. Sometimes if you don't shovel, you're walking through snow up to your hips to get to where you need to go. And I was way at the end of this 40-mile road in a little tiny town, and I want to tell you how I felt in that situation. When I was in high school, I was surrounded by people who'd never gone to college. My parents had never gone to college. My aunts and uncles hadn't gone to college. My dad worked as drove a train for a mining company. He was a manual laborer, and my mom was a housewife. She also never went to college. And so this is how I felt, guys. I felt like I was small. And I felt like I had very few resources. I didn't have a car to even get down that long, snowy 40-mile road to be able to get out of town. I really felt like I was stuck in this very, very small place. But I was able to make some decisions for myself that got me out of there and put me on a journey to be something different than just small. And I want to take you on a similar journey today. And you see here where I have these stick figures that are large? For a lot of you today, and this is not just you, this is every high school student on the planet, you feel like you are small. You feel like you're just only seeds when people are expecting you to be a giant field of wheat or corn. You feel small and like you have lack of resources, and this is every single student on the planet. But what I want to bring you to today is a vision of your future that is larger than anything that you've ever thought of before. And I want to inspire you that no matter who you are, no matter whether you speak English or Spanish well or not, regardless of who your parents are, regardless of how small your resources are, you can make decisions that bring you on a step-by-step basis to a place where you have a future where you are financially secure, you're able to take care of your family, you are doing work that matters in this world, that helps people, and you are able to do something that has purpose for, you live a life that has purpose. When you get up in the morning, you think about going to work and you think, I can't wait to get there because I love what I do. And this is the vision that I see for you for your future. Now some of you are looking at this book. She wrote this book, Launch How to Get Your Kids Through College Debt-Free and Into Jobs They Love Afterward. And some of you are thinking, college? I'm not even thinking about college. I think college is too expensive. I think I couldn't get in there. And what I'm here to tell you is there are ways for you to get there and be able to get it paid for and be able to get all the resources that can be available to you there and be able to get out and have a life that right now you're probably not even dreaming of. And I'm going to get you started on that journey. But you know what? There are some of you in this room who you will not be going to college. And you know why? Because you have skills and talents and gifts that are needed in areas in this world where a college degree isn't even required. There may be some of you here who would make amazing construction managers. And a construction manager doesn't learn how to be a construction manager by going to OSU. A construction manager has to go to a very special job training program that usually takes about 2 years in a technical school. So my work that I do, and the work that has its place, starting place in this book, it's not just for headed for college, but it's anyone who's headed for any kind of job training. Anyone who's headed for any kind of technical school where you might learn how to be an electrician, or how to be a person who takes x-rays, or how to be a medical assistant. That's the person that is assisting the doctors and the nurses in a clinic. So whoever you are today, and wherever you come from, and whatever you might feel like, even if you feel small, which all high school students do, there is hope for you to be able to move towards a bright future, and for some of you it's going to include college, and for some of you it's going to include a different path. But no matter where you're going, I can help you get there. Now, you notice this book says how to get your kids through college debt-free, and you're like, I don't have any kids, why is she here even talking to us? I do talk to a lot of parents, and the book was designed for parents to read. And if you ever see a copy of this, you'll see that the table of contents is laid out according to a student's month and year in college. So there's, month and year in high school. So there's a chapter that's called January of 10th grade. There's a chapter that's called September of 11th grade. So whatever grade you are in school, you read that little chapter and it gives you ideas on what you could possibly do to get to college or job training and then through absolutely debt-free. So parents often get a hold of this. However, I have had students write me letters, and students have said, Mrs. Burlowski, my parents weren't involved, or my parents couldn't help me, or my parents couldn't read English and they couldn't read the book. And so I got the book from the library for free, and I followed the directions in the book myself, and I got myself to college or to technical school or to job training by following your instructions. And I got through absolutely debt-free, and now I am in a career that I love. So I've thought carefully about what I could say to you when I come to your classroom today. And as we talk today, I'm going to give you 3 main points that I hope everybody's going to write down on page number 1. I'm going to draw some diagrams to make this easy to stick in your head. Right now, if you feel like you're at this point, you're not alone, you feel maybe like you're small, I want to talk to you about the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is a theme that is in almost every movie and almost every fictional book. Usually there's some kind of a character that's trying to get to some kind of a goal, and it's really hard and it's an uphill climb. But if they're lucky, they have a mentor or they have someone that gives them gifts and direction for the journey. You know, you think about Luke Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was the guide and the giver of gifts along the journey. So when you are sitting in high school and you feel like you're small, and it feels like there's a struggle to get to the point where you're going to be bigger than you are right now on the other side of high school or on the other side of college, think of it as a journey that matters. And when you encounter obstacles, like anyone saw the Lord of the Rings movie, you encounter obstacles, you push through those obstacles, and you get resources, and you get to a place where right now, in your mind, you might not even dream that you could go. Now, on this journey, I want to address 3 different steps that I'd like you to take on this journey. And some of you are going, oh, she's talking about 3 steps. I bet she wants us to write those down on the first piece of paper. 3 steps, and she's going to draw a diagram, which I will probably want to copy down. So first step I'm going to ask you to do is I am going to ask you to engage with your education like you have never before. I teach a class, actually that's for students who are ages 12 to 26. And so we've got students who are 12 years old and students who are 26 years old. They're all in the same room at the same time. This class I teach is called the Strategic College Student, How to Get Higher Grades While Studying Less Than Most Other People. And I'm teaching graduate students and medical students and law students, and I'm teaching middle schoolers, and it's all at the same time. And what I'm teaching are principles for helping you to get high grades without putting in a tremendous amount of time where you don't have any time for anything else in your life. So I'm going to teach you one little principle that I teach out of that particular class. And it is the power of taking notes, handwritten notes on paper. Now these days, a lot of college students are taking notes on a computer. They've got a laptop. Colleges will actually have huge halls where lectures are happening, and they've got electrical outlets on the desk because students are taking notes on a laptop. This is a problem because for students who take notes on laptops, two big things happen. One is they take way too many notes. They take just blah, blah, blah. They're just typing as fast as they can. They can practically type faster than the professor can speak. And so then later they have way too many notes to study. It's just overwhelming. And the second problem with taking notes on a computer is that it impedes your learning. This means that it hurts your learning. The students who take notes with pen and paper though, I know this seems old-fashioned. I know it seems like, what's next, Mrs. Burlowski? You're gonna ask us to chisel our notes into rocks from the quarry? But people who take notes on what is being said in an active learning situation, and they actually write them down on paper, have this magnificent advantage. People who take notes are listening with their ear, so the information is coming in through their ear. And then they process it in their own head and think, what's important, what's not important. I'm not gonna write down what excuse me, would you mind going back to a writing surface and hold your pen and put it on your paper and write down 3 things I'm gonna talk about today. Thank you. So students who take notes are bringing the information in through their ear. They are writing it down, and when they write it down, they're sifting. I'm obviously not going to write down what the professor said about his dog, but I am going to write down the 3 main points that are important for this organic chemistry exam that I'm about to take. So they're listening, they're sifting in their head, and then they're moving their hand to write the note down. And students here today, I want to tell you, you may get in active learning situations where nobody else is taking any notes, where other people have their laptops out, and instead you got a folder full of printer paper exactly like this. And when you sit down and someone is giving you information that you need for engaged education, you are listening, you're sifting, you're choosing what to write down, you're moving your own hand to make the letters. And when you do this, you're able to draw diagrams, you're able to think, how can I best hold on to this information for later? And there's actually a special strategy that was found through research at Carnegie Mellon University where students who reviewed these notes for 5 minutes the next day, they have the information stick in their head way better. Now, what I want to tell you is almost a little story about this whole note-taking thing. There was a college professor by the name of Ralph Nichols, and he was trying to do some research on how little could college students study and still remember things for the longest period of time. And so he did an experiment in one of his classes. He had 500 students in one classroom, and he handed out papers to everybody, just like I did to you earlier. And he handed out papers, and 50% of the papers randomly said, don't take notes on this material, it's for informational purposes only, just listen. The other 50% of the papers said, take careful notes, you will be tested on this material, it counts for lots of points. So he put everyone had these papers, and then he gave a lecture for 50 minutes. And it was complicated, and there were students sitting there, and they were writing with pens and paper, and they're doing the listening, and they're sifting in their head, and they're moving their hand to write down what he said, and then they're seeing the information there in their own handwriting. Then at the end, for an experiment, he collected all the papers, and he threw the papers into the garbage can So nobody had the opportunity to be able to review those notes. Nobody got to see them later. And then when people came back after about a week, he gave them a quiz on that exact material. And what I want to tell you is really significant. 20%, the students who did not take the notes, they got 20% of the questions right on the quiz. The students who took the notes, even though they never ever had a chance to be able to review them because he threw their notes in the garbage, they got 60% right. So what I tell students ages 12 to 26 is, if you just simply take notes by hand on pencil and paper in a class, you can get 60% of the way down the road to a college A, even if you don't look back at those notes and study it all later. And the students that I work with are usually students who they want to achieve and they want to be able to get good grades in high school and in college, but they don't want to spend every single minute of their life working on these things. So the idea that I could sit in an active, engaged learning situation and I could do something that would get me 60% of the way down the road to a college A without even doing any additional studying, that's really appealing to people. So, for anyone in this room who someone in your life has ever made you feel small, if anyone has ever told you that you aren't smart, or that you don't have a great future, or that you're not capable, what I want to tell you here is that students who are in middle school and high school all feel that way to some degree, but you can expand yourself and you can grow. And researchers in California, including a researcher by the name of Carol Dweck, they call this a growth mindset. And a growth mindset says, hey, I may be small now, but you know what? I can grow. And I can become greater than I am right now by taking some intentional steps, by taking responsibility for my own self and moving forward. And if there's one thing I hope you remember from me being here today, is that you got teachers here and a principal here that I met yesterday at this school. They really care about you. And they're creating active, engaged educational opportunities. What I'm asking you to do is to move on the hero's journey towards a life of meaning and purpose. I'm going to ask you to engage, even if nobody else does. And it might mean that you put away all your electronics and you are actually writing and listening and you're taking notes. Pencil and paper notes. It is a huge, fast way to learn. Here's a little side benefit of this. People who take notes in classes find that they don't get bored. They're not looking at the clock because their brains are active. And when your brain is active, you after a while look up and go, holy moly, the class is over? And it just feels like I was here for only 5 minutes and I feel energized. This is a very different experience than people who just sit and listen and don't take any notes. So I'm going to present this to you as a tool that you can hold in your back pocket. This is like a magic elixir that you can pull out when you need it. When you need academic confidence, you can say to yourself, other people might not be taking notes, but I'm going to take paper and pen out, and I'm going to write down what the teacher is talking about. Okay, next thing, and we are going to have Q&A at the end of this session. So if you have questions for me, you can hold them in your head, or you can write them down, and then you'll be able to ask me questions at the end. Okay, the next step on this journey that I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to do some career assessments. And I'm going to write this on the board, and I hope you're going to write this on the paper because you heard me emphasizing it. Career, and I'm going to talk about exactly what this is, career assessments. When I'm working with college students and graduate students and students headed for medical school, this is a big thing I emphasize for them. I'm going to help you get these for free. So, career assessments are where you sit down at a computer and the computer program asks you some questions about yourself. And it will say, if you had to spend a day arranging flowers, how would you feel about that? On a scale of 1 to 5, 1, you would hate it. 5, you would absolutely love it. They would ask you a question like, how would you feel about taking care of sick people? And you would write down, okay, on a scale of 1 to 5, here's how I feel. How would you feel about answering people's questions about their computers? How would you feel if you were in that kind of a situation? How would you feel about being with people who have special needs? How would you feel about counting money or fixing machines or managing a bunch of people who are trying to move toward a goal together, like build a business together? And it's interesting, when you answer these questions, you'll find that you have really distinct and specific answers. You'll say, no, I do not want to arrange flowers. How would you feel about standing up in front of people and giving a speech? And you'll say, I would love it. Or your gut reaction will be, I would not like that. So these assessments are not difficult. You will have strong opinions. And then they're able to print out information for you that will tell you, here's where your natural interests lie. So please write down this resource, because this is one anybody can do at home. This is your free career test. And you would just Google your free career test. And you will see that they start you out, they ask you the questions. And I have a printout here from a woman who did your free career test. And I'll have it up here if anyone wants to take a look at it when I'm done here. This woman scored 75% in healthcare. So the assessment said to her, you know, you just have this job. You tend to really like healthcare. And it's got directions for her, and it says, you could be a sonographer, which is a person who helps with imaging, like doing a CT scan or doing they do scans of babies in the womb so that they can see if there's something wrong with them, they need surgery before they're born. This is really important work. You could be a registered nurse or a certified nursing assistant or a licensed practical nurse, a radiographer, a surgical technologist, a dental assistant, a dental hygienist, a physical therapist. There are lots and lots of careers within healthcare that are not just simply doctor or nurse. Now sometimes you might go to your free career test and you might do this and it might say, you love healthcare, you scored 75%. Or it might be something else. She scored 50% in public service. And I said to her, wow, you know what, if you did a career in healthcare, that's a real public service. I mean, you're really helping the public if you are in healthcare. She scored 33% in legal, and she could be a lawyer or she could be a legal assistant, or it's called a paralegal that helps lawyers. She scored 33% in communications. And when she looked at all these results, she said, I'm going to seriously consider possibly career in healthcare. What is she doing here? What she's doing is she's identifying where this might be. And once she identifies where this might be, she is able to plot out the fastest, least expensive way to get to that goal. And I know it would be hard for her to do on her own, but that's exactly the kind of thing that my resources help with. So, you might have a question. How do I know what a sonographer is? If it says you're interested in healthcare, you might be a sonographer. I've never even heard of that. S-O-N-O-G-R-A-P-H-E-R. Write this down. Put this on the first sheet. You can Google the name of any career along with the initials BLS. And BLS stands for Bureau of Labor Statistics. Would you turn that upside down for me? Thank you. So Google the name of the career with BLS. Write that down. It stands for Bureau of Labor Statistics. And you will get a beautiful page that resizes for your phone. It's lovely on any device. And it tells you, here's what people in that career do. And here's how much money they make. And here's how much education it requires. And sometimes you might look at something like this and it says, you don't even have to go to college to do this job. You do a little 9-month job training and you get a certificate and you can get it paid for by the hospital you're going to go work for. And what you're doing is you're kind of clarifying the bullseye on the target so that you can take aim and shoot right at a target. When thinking about career goals, I never want students to just wild guess at what they might be good at or what they might be interested in. Typically, whatever it is that you're most interested in, it's probably because there's some kind of ability or there's talent inside of you that's making you drive toward that. When I see someone's really interested in something, the first thing I think is probably this person has some talent or some ability that's driving them that way. Those of you, I see a lot of you taking notes, a lot of pens are out. Draw this circle on your paper as you're copying down this diagram I'm drawing. Imagine that this green circle here is what I will call the world of work. And every job, imagine every job in the whole world is in this circle. A sonographer, special ed teacher, Spanish teacher in a high school, doctor, CEO, all the jobs in the world are in this circle. So imagine that. Here's what the career assessments are going to do. They're going to help clarify for you where your slice is. So none of us are all over the circle. I couldn't do every single job in the world. I got special talent and special gifting for one area of the circle. And a career assessment can pretty quickly tell you, here's where your area of the circle is. This is where you tend to fall. Here's where your talents are. Here's where your abilities are. Here's where your gifts and your interests and your strengths are. Now, I've given you one career assessment, and I had you write that down. And that one's your free career test. But there are other ones available here at the high school. What I'd love for you to do is take every one you can get your hands on. And so your counseling center here will have other resources available for you, other career tests besides just this one. And you can go to the counseling office, especially there's Mrs. Christy Smith. She's a person who understands about this. She's an example of a person I met yesterday who really cares about helping students. You can go there and you can say, I want to take career assessments. I want to take every one that you can give me. And if you get to a technical school or you get to college, they have a career center there, and I'd love for you to go in and say, I want to take every career assessment that you can give me, because the more you can clarify where your spot is, the more that you can focus. And it'll be interesting for you to see this destination I'd like to get to. Does it require college? Does it require job training? Does it require... Every one of you in this room needs some kind of job training. It's just a matter of where it's going to be. Does it require 2 years of technical school or a 9-month certificate program? So not everybody is going to go to college, but everybody is going to do some sort of training. And I hope that by my having been here today, you'll say, Mrs. Burlowski said, there's a spot for me. There's a place for me. There's a slice of the world where I will thrive and be able to succeed. And this is true even if you feel small right now. You engage with your education. You seek out assessments that help you know where to focus. And now I'm going to take you to the third point, and I'm going to talk about this, and then we will have time for question and answer. So my third place, this is the third line on this big graph of the hero's journey. The third line is, I want to ask you to watch a 10-minute video. And I'm not going to show it here. This is homework. This is for you to do at home. And I would especially like you to do this with a trusted adult. So in your head right now, I'd like you to identify who would be a person in your life that is a trusted adult for you. So this would be a person, it could be a parent, or maybe it's not a parent, maybe it's a youth pastor, or maybe it's a person who's a staff member at the school, a school counselor. It could be an aunt or an uncle that is a trusted adult for you. I want you to identify who your resources are that can help you on this journey from smaller to greater. And then I'd like you to ask them to watch one. It's just a free, fast-paced 10-minute video that will get you started on your first step toward this journey of college or technical school or job training absolutely debt-free. Because I worry that maybe someone in your life might have told you, you can't go to college because it's too expensive. That's actually not true, but a lot of adults believe that. The truth is that you can go if you just use a little clever strategy that other people don't know about. And when I talk about going to college debt-free, I'm giving you all the best ideas from clients I've had over 25 years who've been applying. I got clients applying to law school, medical school, graduate school, business school, and I have taken all their best ideas for debt-free college and stuffed them into this book. So, you're gonna identify your trusted adult and ask them to watch one 10-minute video, and it's at this link. Ready? You're gonna write this down on the first piece of paper, really important. It's at JeannieBurlowski.com, which is this is what we're looking at here. This is my website, and it has a list of everything. I don't know why I can't move it, Julian.
I got it. I can move it.
I want it at the top where the videos are. Nope, you're going down and I need to go up.
Okay, top.
I've got 3 fast-paced 10-minute videos
That one?
that parents and trusted adults, this is it. 3 videos that people watch based on the age of their kid. So, a parent who has, or a trusted adult who cares about a kid that's in 7th or 8th grade, they watch this video. A parent or a trusted adult who cares about a kid who's in 9th or 10th grade, they watch this video. A parent or a trusted adult who cares about a kid in 11th or 12th grade, they watch this video. It's only 10 minutes, and it's me saying, here's how I can start you out on this journey. Now, I told you earlier, there are students who have written me letters from all over the country who say, I don't really have a trusted adult, my parents aren't engaged, my parents aren't helping me, so I did it by myself. I went and I watched your video, and in 10 minutes, I will tell you exactly how to use the instructions in my book to get yourself to college and then through absolutely debt-free. And the table of contents is all laid out according to your kids, according to your current month and year in school. So you always know exactly what you should be doing at each time. And here at this school, your counseling staff are all a huge team of trusted adults for you. So you would be able to bring this book to people that are in the counseling office and say, she says I'm supposed to be doing this and I'm stuck. Can you help me get unstuck? Now, you never have to buy this book. It's available for free at any library. It's available for free at the library by your house. And if the library doesn't have it, any librarian will order it for you. Just say, I want this book, go to JeannieBurlowski.com and show them, here's where the book is, and I can get the book to the library for you. I also donated 2 copies of this book to this school, and Mr. Rodriguez can help you to identify where those donated copies are, so you'll be able to just go into some office in this school and just read your chapter and then walk out, leave the book there. So this is a free resource for you, and all I'm asking you to do is watch one 10-minute video, and you will do this at the very top of JeannieBurlowski.com. This resizes really well for your phone, so you can do it on your phone or you can do it on a desktop. So let's summarize. What am I asking you to do today? I'm asking you to see a future for yourself that's bigger than any idea that you have entertained before. I'm asking you to see a future where you are financially secure and you're able to take care of your family, where you are proud of what you do, and when you get up and go to work every day, you are excited to be there and be investing your life in what you're doing, and what you're doing actually helps the world. So you are a bigger person than you are right now. And even if you feel small right now, as every single high school student does, if you will follow these steps, you will be able to get yourself to a destination you may have never even allowed yourself to think about before. So the steps are, I'd like you to engage with your education and just consider, even if you don't do this right now, I'd like you to consider being a note taker and a person who writes down what the teacher's saying and a person who does the assignments. Other people may not be headed for greatness the way that you are, but I'm going to ask you to engage and do what you're asked to do, because these teachers are here to help you to transition the hero's journey, but it requires your responsibility and your cooperation. I really want you to get these career assessments. And you will probably not have adults cramming them down your throat. They're not gonna say, hey, you gotta do this, sit down right now, 5th hour, you gotta do this right now. It's gonna be you pursuing this and saying, if nobody else wants this, I want it. And I want to identify where is my slice in the world of work. And it's career assessing that really helps with that. And then I really want you to identify your trusted adult and watch a free, fast-paced 10-minute video that will get you started on this journey. Okay, questions or comments about what we have talked about so far? And it's okay for you to express doubt to me. Could you turn that upside down for me? You can ask me anything, like, does this really work? Or somebody in the last period asked me, how did you learn about this? How did you get started on this journey? What questions do you have about anything I've said today? You want to ask me that question about how did you learn all this stuff to write a book about debt-free college? Or, a girl over here said, did you follow all these steps and get yourself through college debt-free? Which I thought was a really good question. When I went to college, I didn't have much help and I didn't have much direction. I had nothing like this to help me. And I had to find my own way because my parents were not educated and they didn't have any resources to help me. It was a lot of trusted adults that helped me along the way. But the way I learned everything that I know, this stuff, is I have had a consulting practice for 25 years where I help students apply to law school, medical school, graduate school, business school. And I always have to have a debt discussion with these people. I have to say, how much student loan debt do you have right now if I'm looking at the cumulative? You know, you're done with college and you're headed for medical school, how much debt do you have? And sometimes I would have students say to me, I have $180,000 in student loan debt right now from undergrad. And it was, normal, what I usually find, it was stupid debt. It was unnecessary debt. They didn't have to get it. But sometimes I would have to say to students, you actually can't go to medical school now because when you add all your medical school debt on top of that, you would never be able to pay it all back on a doctor's salary. And we have to find a different career for you to do. On the other hand, when I have this discussion with my clients, I got some of the most brilliant, strategic kids in the country coming through my office. And sometimes I would say, how much student loan debt do you have right now if we're looking at the cumulative? And someone would say to me, I have 0. And I would say, you have 0? How did you do that? And then they would say, and they would give me the greatest ideas. They would say things like, well, I worked for UPS while I was in college. You know, the brown uniforms, they come and bring the packages to your door. I worked for UPS part-time while I was in college, and they not only gave me a paycheck, but they also wrote a check for $5,700 a year and just sent it to my school to help pay my college tuition. In 4 years, I got over $20,000 in free college tuition just because I was working part-time for UPS. And then icing on the cake, people would say to me, I was studying aviation in college. When I got out, UPS hired me to work on all their airplanes that they have, because UPS got airplanes going all over the world. Or I was in business and UPS hired me in their marketing department, or they hired me for business management. You might think UPS, I wouldn't want to work there when I am out of college, but they got tons of interesting jobs that don't require handling any packages or driving any trucks. Now that's just one idea that people gave me. Over years, students gave me other ideas like the Oklahoma Promise is, for an example, or taking college classes in high school for college credit and high school credit at the same time. How are you going to handle that? Well, Mrs. Burlowski came and talked to you about being engaged with your education and taking handwritten notes in class. Information like this, inspiration like this, helps students to be able to jump into difficult educational things even when they're quite young. And some students say, I walked across the stage at my high school graduation. I had 2 years of college done already at state expense. The state paid for it. So I only had 2 years of college left to get through. That really helped me to get through debt-free. And I got all these ideas. I packed every one of them into this book. And this book is all arranged so you just read your current month and year at school and just consider doing some of those strategies that are in there. It gives you a starting place, a conversation starter with your trusted adult where you say, look, this lady really is an expert on debt-free college and she says, I could try this right now and I'm only in 10th grade or I'm only in 11th grade. I'd like to try this and see what would happen. Will you help me if I get stuck? Okay, questions or comments about anything that we've talked about here?